Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel as he sat in his car in the driveway, staring at the quiet suburban house. The lights inside were warm and inviting, but to Jack they felt cold. His stomach churned with unease, a feeling that had been growing over the past few months. It was the kind of discomfort that gnawed at the back of his mind, a whisper of doubt he tried to ignore but could no longer suppress. The house belonged to him and Amy, his wife of 10 years. They had built a life together, a seemingly perfect life. From the outside, they were the model couple, successful careers, a beautiful home, and a love that had withstood the test of time. But appearances could be deceiving. Tonight, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It had been months since Amy had first brought up the topic, a conversation that had lingered between them like a shadow, growing darker with every passing day. He remembered the night it all started. They had been sitting at the dinner table, the soft glow of candlelight casting flickering shadows on the walls. The wine flowed, and they talked about their day, their usual comfortable banter. And then, out of nowhere, Amy's voice took on a different tone. "Jack, have you ever thought about open relationships?" she had asked, her voice light, as though it was just a casual question. Jack had laughed at first, thinking she was joking. "What, you want to trade me in for someone else?" Amy smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "No, I mean, what if we opened up our marriage, just explored other people, but still stayed committed to each other?" The smile had faded from Jack's face. He set his wine glass down, studying her carefully. "Amy, where is this coming from?" She shrugged, but her body language betrayed her discomfort. "I don't know. I've been reading about it. It works for some people, you know. It's supposed to strengthen relationships, make people appreciate what they have even more." Jack had felt a knot form in his stomach. "Are you saying you're not happy?" "No, it's not that," Amy quickly replied, reaching across the table to take his hand. "I love you, Jack. I'm just curious. I think it could bring us closer." Jack pulled his hand away, leaning back in his chair. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The woman he had spent a decade with, the woman he thought he knew inside and out, was asking him to consider something he never thought would be on the table. The thought of Amy being with someone else made his chest tighten with anger and pain. "Amy, I don't want to share you with anyone," he had said, his voice low and firm. "We're married. Isn't that enough?" Amy had sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. Just think about it, okay? Please." Jack had agreed, but he knew in his heart that he couldn't accept it. The idea of someone else touching her, loving her, tore at his soul. And so, he tried to push the conversation aside, hoping it was just a phase. But Amy didn't let it go. Over the next few weeks, the tension between them grew. Amy became more distant, more irritable. She brought up the idea again and again, each time framing it as something that could enhance their relationship, something that could make them stronger. Jack, however, couldn't see it that way. To him, it felt like a betrayal, even if she hadn't acted on it yet. One night, after another heated argument about the subject, Amy finally broke down. "I can't keep living like this, Jack," she had yelled, her voice cracking with emotion. "I feel trapped. You don't understand what I'm going through." Jack had stared at her, his heart aching. "I don't understand, Amy. We have everything. Why isn't that enough?" Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I need more. I need to feel alive again." Jack had stood there, helpless, as she stormed out of the room. He had thought that they could work through it, that it was just a rough patch. Every marriage had them, right? But something told him that this was different. And now, sitting in his car, Jack couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of the end. He had noticed the changes in Amy. She was on her phone more often, texting late at night, and always had some excuse for staying out late. When he asked her about it, she brushed him off, telling him not to be so paranoid. But Jack wasn't stupid. He knew when something was wrong. With a heavy sigh, he stepped out of the car and walked toward the house. His hands felt clammy, and his heart raced in his chest as he unlocked the front door. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Amy's car was in the driveway, but there was no sign of her inside. Jack called out her name, but there was no answer. A sense of dread settled over him as he made his way up the stairs to their bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, and as he pushed it open, his heart stopped. There, in their bed, was Amy, and beside her was a man Jack didn't recognize, his arm draped casually across her waist as they slept, oblivious to the world around them. Jack's vision blurred with rage and disbelief. His hands clenched into fists, and he felt like he couldn't breathe. This was it. The moment he had feared but never wanted to believe would come. Amy stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw Jack standing in the doorway, her face went pale. She quickly sat up, pulling the covers around her, panic flashing across her features. "Jack, I didn't think you'd be home so early," she stammered, her voice shaky. The man beside her woke up, blinking in confusion, before realizing what was happening. He scrambled to get dressed, muttering apologies under his breath, but Jack wasn't paying attention to him. His eyes were locked on Amy, his mind racing with 1,000 questions. "I asked you," Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I asked you if something was wrong, if you were happy, and you said you were. You lied to me." Amy's face crumpled with guilt and shame. "I didn't know what else to do. You wouldn't let you cheat on me?" Jack's voice rose, the anger finally spilling over. "Is that what you wanted? My permission to destroy everything we had?" Tears welled up in Amy's eyes as she shook her head. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I thought if I could just what?" Jack demanded. "If you could what, Amy?" She looked away, unable to meet his gaze. "I thought I could handle it. I thought I could separate it from us. But I couldn't. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry." The man had dressed by now, and sensing the tension in the room, quickly made his exit, leaving Jack and Amy alone in the suffocating silence. Jack stood there, his heart shattered, as Amy sobbed quietly into her hands. He wanted to yell, to scream, to make her understand how deeply she had hurt him. But all he felt was an overwhelming sense of numbness. The woman he had loved, the woman he had trusted with his entire heart, had betrayed him in the worst way possible. "I can't do this," Jack finally said, his voice hollow. "I can't stay." Amy looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. "Please, Jack, don't leave. We can fix this. We can get through this. I love you." Jack shook his head, the weight of the betrayal too heavy to bear. "I don't know if we can. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you again." Without another word, Jack turned and walked out of the bedroom, the sound of Amy's sobs echoing in his ears as he made his way down the stairs. He grabbed his car keys from the kitchen counter and left the house, his heart pounding in his chest. As he drove away, the tears he had been holding back finally began to fall. The future he had envisioned with Amy, the life they had built together, was gone, shattered by her choices. He didn't know what came next, didn't know how he would move forward, but he knew one thing for sure. The person he had once loved was no longer the same, and neither was he. Jack spent the next few days in a fog, staying at a friend's place, while he tried to process everything that had happened. The pain of Amy's betrayal weighed heavily on him, and every time he closed his eyes, he saw her with that man in their bed, in the space that was supposed to be theirs alone. His phone buzzed constantly, with texts and calls from Amy, each one more desperate than the last. She begged him to come home, to talk, to try and work things out. But Jack couldn't bring himself to respond. He didn't know if he could face her, didn't know if he even wanted to. It wasn't just the act of cheating that hurt. It was the months of lies, the deception, the way she had dismissed his concerns and made him feel like he was the problem. All those times, she had reassured him that nothing was wrong, that he was just being paranoid, had been a cover for her infidelity. As the days passed, Jack found himself oscillating between anger and heartbreak. He had always thought of himself as a strong person, someone who could handle adversity. But this was different. This wasn't just a setback. It was a betrayal of the deepest kind. He remembered their wedding day, The way Amy had looked at him with such love and adoration. The vows they had made to each other. For better or for worse, they had said. And Jack had believed it with all his heart. He had never imagined that worse would mean this. Eventually, Jack knew he couldn't avoid Amy forever. He had to confront her, had to make a decision about what came next. He didn't know if their marriage could survive this, but he needed closure, needed answers to the questions that had been tormenting him since that night. He called Amy and agreed to meet her at the house. The conversation was strained, both of them walking on eggshells around each other, but they set a time for later that evening. As Jack pulled into the driveway, the familiar sense of unease settled over him once again. This house, once a symbol of their love and life together, now felt like a prison, a place haunted by the ghosts of what could have been. Amy was waiting for him in the living room when he walked in, her face pale and drawn, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, and Jack wondered if she had been as tormented by all of this as he had. "Jack," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." Jack sat down on the couch, keeping a distance between them. "Then why did you?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Why did you do this to us?" Amy wiped at her eyes, sniffling, as she struggled to find the right words. "I don't know. I felt lost, Jack. I felt like I wasn't enough anymore, like I needed something more, but it wasn't about you. It was never about you." Jack clenched his fists, the anger bubbling up again. "How can you say that? How can you say it wasn't about me when you were sleeping with another man, in our bed?" Amy winced, her face crumpling with guilt. I know I messed up. I made the worst mistake of my life, and I hate myself for it. But I love you, Jack. I never stopped loving you." Jack stared at her, his heart aching. He wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that their love could survive this. But he didn't know if he could ever trust her again. The betrayal had cut too deep. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he said quietly. "I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way." Amy nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. But please, Jack, don't walk away from us. We can go to therapy. We can rebuild. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Jack was silent for a long time, his mind swirling with conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to leave, to walk out the door and never look back. But another part of him, the part that still loved Amy despite everything, wanted to fight for their marriage. "I don't know," he finally said. "I don't know what the future holds for us, but I need time. I need space to figure things out." Amy nodded again, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait for you, Jack. I'll wait as long as it takes." Jack stood up, feeling a sense of finality in the air. He didn't know what would happen next, didn't know if they could ever repair the damage that had been done. But for now, he needed to walk away, to find himself again amidst the wreckage of their broken marriage. As he walked out of the house and into the night, Jack felt the weight of everything pressing down on him. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with pain and heartache. But he knew one thing for sure: no matter what happened, he would survive. This story explores the complexities of love, betrayal, and the difficulty of moving forward after infidelity. It delves into the emotional turmoil of both the betrayed and the betrayer, offering a nuanced look at the challenges that come with repairing a relationship after trust has been broken.